Got old Craigie boy in here.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that you're not. You never held the record in this game, at least not for any percent or all stages. Or is it any percent? I guess because
It's
there's
just
no.
8%, yeah.
Yeah, there's no skipping anything, so makes sense.
Yep.
But you're tied into the community, so I know you know what's going on. So
Yeah, but I know enough.
yeah, I would hope so.
Yep.
So just to give me an idea, when did you first join the community? Generally,
Oh God. I want to say 2013 was my first exposure at the community, at the
okay.
DKC community as a whole. Um, but I was not super involved with them up until when I started streaming, which happened in 2015. I think March 2015 is when I started streaming. But
Okay.
I was around and I watched streams and I lurked streams and then I dicked around playing DKC myself offline at that point, but I wasn't really talking much to the community. I knew what was going on through mostly just reading Twitter and IRC a little bit and just
Mhm.
watching a bunch of streams. But yeah, for the most part, it was until I started streaming that I really became more active with the community.
I get you. Okay. So I believe in 2015 you would have been running DKC 2, right?
Yes.
How much running have you done for DKC 3 and what categories do you think you mainly focused on?
So I still have the record for 103%. So there's that.
Oh, hang on. The
I
doorbell just rang. You are correct.
Oh yeah, nice run.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
We're fucking right, dude. Shut up
Yeah.
in the middle of the call. Anyways.
Should have waited 5 more minutes,
Well, it's always 5 more minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you said you have the record in 103%, right? And then what else did we say?
Yeah, so I currently I still have the record in 103, so I would say I'm mostly focused on that, or rather, it's my favorite category of DKC3. But I did start with any percent, any percent back then just looked like the more attractive option, obviously, because trilogy runs were starting to gain some momentum. And it was also a shorter run, and also bleak skip was not a thing back then. So turns out that I learned to run, and then around the same time as a bunch of other people also learned to run. Like Zelna was running, Blunt Bunny, Claude, and the run was also not that optimized back then. Compared to the other two Donkey games, there was a lot of room for improvement, and there was kind of a small world record chase at that point too, which I thought was pretty sweet.
Why do you think that DKC3 was less optimized by that point in time?
Because it was just less ran, it was less popular. There was this stigma around DKC3 being the worst DKC game, or the one that is less fun, the one that is not as cool. You have DKC2, obviously the coolest. It was the most popular back then, the one ran by the most players, and then you had DKC1, which was the solid introduction to the series, and then you had DKC3, which was full of gimmicks and that essentially just lived in DKC2's shadow for the longest time. And it took quite a while before the DKC3 got actually the respect and the recognition it should have, really.
Okay. I was gonna play off of that and I just forgot the words. You said that the DKC3 kind of relied on a lot of gimmicks and things like that. Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, sure. So for DKC3, less so in DKC2, but like you can clearly tell in DKC2 that like some of the levels have like a specific thing attached to it. Like take World 5 for example, like Ghostly Grove, you have like the ghost ropes, they're only a thing in that level. You have Haunted Hall, which is like a chase, like you're being chased by this ghost skeleton guy, kind of threatening looking, and you
Yeah.
need to grab those barrels to make sure he doesn't damage you. Then you have Gusty Glade, which is a wind level, and then you have Parachute Panic, like a vertical level where you
We're
need.
talking about two, right?
We're talking about two, but I'm just like I'm gonna expand on that. Like,
Okay, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
and then yeah, you see that like like there are gimmicks attached to levels in DKC2, albeit not as what's the word for it? Like it's like they're not as omnipresent, I guess, as in
Mm.
DKC3. Like in DKC2, like you'll have like some gimmicks like spread throughout, but like a level like Mudhole Marsh, for example, like will just be like mostly focused on like really hard platforming in like a swamp setting. But like
Hmm.
there's no like gimmick per se. Whereas
Yeah,
DKC3, like every stage except maybe like the first one will have a gimmick attached to it. Like you're taking like world, just the first world for example. Like you'll have 1-2, you'll have the door stop dash level where you want to grab those handles, lift the doors, and go through. Then you have the next level, Tidal Trouble, then which has the tide going against you, and you have to essentially deal with the current pushing you the other way. And then you have an ice level in World 1, and then you have the Murky Mill level where you have to navigate in the dark as Ellie
mm,
the Elephant. So like you can see like and it doesn't stop there. Like that's the thing about DKC3 is like every level will have something that makes it unique, that makes it pop out of the game, of like the world that it's in. Like it will separate the level from the others.
gotcha. Yeah, like every world and every stage is like, let's try and do a little extra to make it
Yeah, yeah.
stand out. But then they kind of cut out a lot of the regular platforming.
Yeah, in a sense they did. Yeah, there's like there's still like a lot of vanilla elements, but if you compare the levels in DKC3 to the levels in DKC1, like it's night and day. Like in
Hmm.
DKC1, it's like very much like the gimmick of the level is essentially the layout of the level, like where it
Mm,
takes place, and then you had like maybe like some sprites or like enemies that like wouldn't necessarily like that you wouldn't really expect in that level, and you add it in, and that's the level. But yeah, in
mm,
DKC3, like you'll have a lot of levels that will have like unique enemies and shit.
gotcha. Okay. Um, so to help me understand a little better, what are some of the version differences? And are there any like tricks? You know, like in the first game, it was all about like gotta be rolling all the time. You want to like chain together rolls to like max out the speed, right? You know,
Yeah.
is there anything in 3 that's kind of similar?
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah.
how
So
how
I
do how
mentioned
do the versions differ as well?
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
I mentioned Bleak Skip earlier. Bleak Skip being probably the most infamous trick in DKC3. And Blake Skip is only a thing on the Japanese version of DKC3. And
Hmm.
the trick will save you an entire minute over fighting the boss the normal way.
Goodness.
Um, the thing is, playing on the Japanese version is slower in some spots. So like take 103% for example. I know I'm like jumping through loops a little bit here,
It's
but
okay.
like just to establish it correctly, like the Japanese version comes after the English version on the normal release. So the Japanese version will have some stuff that will be patched compared to the English version, and like a few other like extra things. So like for 103%, for example, the Japanese version, if you were to play the 103 run on the Japanese version versus the English version, you would lose close to 2 minutes, I think, is
Wow.
where the time save has been calculated back in the day. And it doesn't even come from Bleak Skip because Bleak Skip is not a thing in 103%. You can't go for that trick. It just goes to show that like there are massive differences between both games, even though it doesn't appear as such. And like once again, I mentioned Bleak Skip. That's for any percent. And there's another trick that is pretty well known, which is the one cycle chaos, which
Mhm.
happens in World 3, Mechanos. And that trick is only a thing for the English version of DKC3, right? And it saves a buttload of time for that boss fight. So like you're essentially like choosing your problem when you're running DKC
Mhm.
380%, right? Like, do I go with bigger time save? Because Bleak Skip's time save, uh, what's the word? It over not overwrites, but like it's more significant that the times you save from chaos. So like,
Mhm.
do you go with like the harder but less consistent trick that saves more time, or do you go a little slower but you'll have more runs going and like your early games will be stronger because of the one cycle chaos. So like it's still a dilemma to this day, despite the fact that there are no leaderboard separations. Like if you want to run
Sure.
any percent, you essentially choose the way you want to run any percent.
Hmm. Okay. Do you have a rough estimation of how much time Chaos one cycle saves? And you said because Bleak Skip saves like a whole minute, right?
Skip saves a whole minute, yeah. One cycle chaos. I'm honest. I don't think I remember how much time it saves. Like there are so many chaos strats at this point. Like the one that is mained currently is called Leftover Chaos, named after Leftover, the Japanese runner of
Mm.
the DKC series, and that one is like I know it's 8 seconds slower than the fastest way of doing chaos, which is task chaos, which involves a bunch of 2-1 jumps. And I think one cycle chaos is still faster than all the chaos fight variations that you can do on the Japanese version. So like one cycle chaos will still like remain king as far as chaos strats are concerned. The problem is you can't run it in any percent if you're
Gotcha.
playing on the Japanese version.
Hmm. Okay.
But yeah, I would say like one cycle chaos probably saves like 20 seconds over task chaos. If I were to just like throw
Yeah.
out a random number like this, like it's significant.
It's
Like
it's in the realm of 20-ish seconds, right?
it's a lot of time. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't remember exactly how much, but it's a lot of time. It's definitely like significant enough that you would actually like do one cycle chaos every single time if it were
Mhm.
possible on the Japanese version.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. And if correct me if I'm wrong, I remember hearing on a GDQ run, I think does the Japanese version like have like 2 frames faster on every load screen or something?
That is probably true because okay, so I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but I was streaming last week and I was talking with my man SBD Wolf. He was in my chat, and he mentioned that the Japanese version for DKC2 could be faster than the English version like, by like maybe a second or two, and I would assume that it's linked to what you just told me. So if that is also a thing for DKC3, then I would not be shocked whatsoever, but I
Hmm.
cannot confirm nor deny these
Okay,
claims.
that's fine. I'll put that back on the shelf and I'll ask somebody else. See if anybody else has an answer for
Yeah.
that. Okay. Um. I already asked those questions. Okay, so then before we get too far into it, are there any like big stories about the community or runs or events that weren't world record. You know, like it's really easy for me to look up all the records that happened, but I'm curious if there's anything that you think is like a really big, like, oh, that was a cool moment in the story or in the history of the game that wasn't a world record time, but like a tournament or um, GDQ runs or whatever. You know, is anything in that sound familiar?
Yeah, yeah. So like the first time this game ran, to my knowledge, the first time this game got accepted into a GDQ marathon was 2014, AGDQ 2014 when Marks ran it, and I think,
Marks. Yep.
yeah, if I remember correctly, Marks was the world record holder at the time with
Yep.
49.45, and yeah, aside from that, there has been a DKC3 tournament a few years ago, but I honestly couldn't tell you who won it, like, or like if it even finished. Like I know back then, like we wanted to have a DKC3 tourney, but it was also like around the time where like we're like starting to be a little bit displeased on how the things were being ran on speed gaming, and eventually it led to us just creating our own community channel, and we've been running events on that channel ever since. But that's besides the point.
Hmm.
Um there was a TKC3 tourney a few years ago, and that's pretty much it as far as like big community milestones that aren't world records.
Okay. I'll look into those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um. Can you talk to me about Claude? Like, who was Claude as a runner?
Who is Claude as a runner? Well, so Claude runs Final Fantasy Tactics. He is mostly known for running Final Fantasy Tactics,
Mhm.
but he also runs a bunch of other games. And the thing about him is he's really dedicated to his craft. Like when
Mm.
he will pick up a game, he will do a lot of science, a lot of research, a lot of practice, strat finding, what have you. And the man knows his way around speed runs in general. So when he picked DKC3 up, he brought a lot of new stuff to the table, and I would like to say that it helped the community to grow, like the DKC3 community.
Mm. Yeah, I've always got that impression from him. Even in DKC 2, he was kind of a lab monster. He was like always like looking to find a new strat or like can he save a little bit of time by doing it this way or something. And even in DKC 2, and I see the same thing in 3 where it feels like he's like, oh yeah, I got this new idea that I want to try out. Oh, it saves like 2 seconds. Okay. And then on this stage, I actually save like 0.5 on this or that. Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was really like all about like let's just try and figure out as much as we can and do all the science. So
Yeah. So you want to know another like funny thing about Claude? Like,
sure.
yeah. So like you remember like when I was talking about Blake Skip earlier? Like Blake Skip was actually found by him, but not really. Like the story, if I recall it correctly, was that Blake Skip was it has been a thing since probably like 2014 or 2013. It's been a thing for like years before Claude actually like I think watched the TAS, and then he was like, "Huh, I wonder what that is." And then he tried it, and sure enough, it was possible, and it became meta at that point. It's just like he brought that information to light,
Hmm.
the information that was already out there, that
Yeah.
no one was really like looking into.
Do you
We
remember who
had
made
we
that
had
task?
we had the time save under our noses all along.
It does happen that way sometimes. Do
Yep.
you know who made that task?
Oh God.
Was it Tampa or was it like a Sammy?
It might have been. Oh my gosh. I want to say. I don't even know if it's Tampa. I remember the day that Claude was doing the Bleak Skip Science on stream, Tampa was in chat, but I honestly don't know if it was a task from Tampa. I want to
Hmm.
say yes, but at the same time, like I know Tampa is not the only one to do DKC tests. Like I don't even know if he has done DKC 3 tests. I gotta be quite honest.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to figure that out. But okay.
Yeah.
So roughly around 2013, 2014, there was already a task,
There
and
was already a test,
Claude
yes.
watched it and was like, "Oh, I want to try that and see if I can do it."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and then
yeah.
that's
I
how I
think
did
it
it.
was around 2016 that happened. Because I remember like SGDQ 2016, me and Blunt ran DKC3 and we did it on different versions because at that point Bleak Skip was like relatively new, like probably like a few months old. Because it was definitely found in the first half of 2016. And I was still stubbornly running on the English version because I wasn't really interested in picking Bleak Skip up. Plus, I liked the one cycle chaos strat, and Blonde was running on the Japanese version because it's faster, duh. And
Right.
we thought that it was like a really cool showcase. Like we did it as a race, but like it was like a clash of versions. Like he was running the fastest version, but like also less consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
I
yeah, it
saw
was
that. I saw
definitely
that run. It
for.
was fun.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said I watched that run. It was very informative. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, it was a good run, and thus began my streak of bad DKC races in GDQ settings.
It do be like that, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of getting down to the like talking about these people. Sui. How do you
Oh,
say that?
Sui Mind, yeah. So Sui kind of came along when DKC3 was on the down. Actually, I want to say it was probably 20. Was it 2017? I feel like it was like.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, around 2017, he was rising up. Like I remember, I was watching Claude one day, and I was jokingly being like, "Who's still playing DKC3 nowadays?" And he was like, "There's my man Sui Mind," and like he knew that like Sui was like working his ass off on his Nico stream. And yeah, eventually it culminated in him like essentially becoming this like unstoppable force, like this like DKC3 monster. Like he was just so far ahead of everybody else. Like his movement was just so much better than everybody else. Is the strats he was using were so much better than everybody else's, and yeah, like eventually he got this ridiculous any percent time that stood for like over 2 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. Like even to this day, like we still like regard him as like probably like overall like the best DKC3 runner to have like ever walked the walk.
I get you.
At
Yeah.
least at least I consider him as such, even though he doesn't have the any percent record anymore.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm curious. Do you think he found his own strats, or was somebody else sort of like developing those and he was implementing them, or do you think it was just all him?
I feel like there was probably like help from the Japanese DKC3 community. Like there are a lot of people in the Japanese community, like of DKC at large, that do science, and I
Mm.
feel like there was probably some of that. But at the same time, I would like to believe that he was the one to just like really push the limits of like which strats are possible and which strats aren't possible in
Mm.
DBC3. And yeah, really, like he was going ham.
I get you. Um, before we move away from him, does anything like stand out? Like, oh man, he found that strat. Like that's like the big one, or is it just a bunch of little ones?
Trying to think. I want to say it was mostly little ones. Although I'll say this, like Task Chaos that I mentioned earlier, Sui was the first one to really do that in runs, and
Wow.
that is
Okay.
part of the reason why the time that he got was like it was so ridiculous, and it was like for the longest time it felt untouchable. It was
Mm.
because of Task Chaos. Task Chaos gave him a huge advantage at the cost of like potentially resetting runs, like resetting a lot of runs early on. But the thing is, like, I guess I'll explain Task Chaos a little bit real quick. Task Chaos requires, I think, 4 2-1 jumps, and 2-1 jumps in DKC3 are frame perfect, and
Mhm.
you can't fail any of them. Otherwise, like, you either risk losing a Kong and failing the strat, or like it will offset an entire cycle and you'll lose time. So like you really have to nail 4 frame perfect tricks in a row, and Surya is just ridiculously consistent at 2-1 jumps. And that's part of the reason why he was able to like main that strategy with great success.
Nice. Now, I believe 2-1 jumps or something like you switch Kongs and jump and then do a throw or something. Like you get a little extra height out of the team throw, right?
Yeah, 2-1 jump will be when you'll do a plink, what we call it plink, which is like you want to press B and A 1 frame apart of each other. And then on the first frame that you'll be fully teamed up, you want to press B, and that will give your jump an extra height.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I've seen it in action, so I'm like, I kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then this might be a touchy subject, and we can cut it out if you want me to. But talk to me about leftover and like the situation with that.
That is a touchy subject. I don't mind like trying to talk about it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Leftover, like the whole shtick with Leftover, for my perception of it is that Leftover just like doesn't want to be recognized as a world record holder. He doesn't want like the attention or the fame that it brings him, if any, like if there is, But yeah, so like that's part of the reason why he doesn't post on speedrun.com. He doesn't really like, um, you know, advertises his PBs or any of that. He don't. I don't even think he has a Twitter anymore.
Man.
He's and no one really knows his motivations behind all of this. We can only make assumptions, but like, like at this point, you're probably aware of him a few months ago just like claiming that he cheated, right?
I was not aware of that.
Okay, well, he claimed that he cheated, but like almost nobody in the community bought that. Like he
You
claimed
think that
that
it
he,
was like a ploy to be like, just leave me alone. I cheated. Like,
yeah, kind of
just disregard what I'm doing.
yeah, like my theory is that he claimed that he cheated, but like it was really only to like get the attention off of him, or like have us like see him for like less than he actually is.
I get
The
you.
problem is like we don't think his runs are cheated. Absolutely not. Um, and yeah, he just like I think he like at this point removed all of his times from Speedrun.com and removed all of his runs from YouTube.
Hmm.
But yeah, like yeah, exactly like you said, like you just wanted to be left alone
Okay.
for whatever reason, and we
I
still don't
can.
know. Like we still don't know. Like there's like clearly a language barrier here, regarding his motivations, but like not even that long ago when I was playing DKC2 Warpless, he was in my chat and he was giving me tips. So like I have nothing but nice things to say about him.
Yeah.
It's just it's a mystery, and I respect like his decisions. Like that's why I'm not like when he was in my chat, I didn't question him about any of this. Like
Yeah.
that's his business, you know.
Yeah. He just wants to be left alone.
Exactly.
Okay. I can respect that.
Hmm.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I guess that does kind of leave a weird spot in that like the world record is like I think he said he privated his videos, and I'm pretty sure that I think Anankaz told us the same thing.
I
But
think
it's like
he had them up until a certain point, and then yeah, he made them private.
hmm, it's
Although I don't know if like you're in line to talk with SBD Wolf.
he's not on the list, but I can talk to him for sure.
Try and reach out to him because I know he has all of Leftovers PBs on a separate YouTube channel.
Okay.
Like he saved all of them, so
Yeah,
maybe
I
with a
have
little
one.
luck,
I have a video of one of them. I forget which one it
yeah,
is,
maybe with a
but
little luck you'll have the 46. I think it's the 4621. That was the
yeah,
run that
I have that.
that was the run that beat Sui's PB.
Okay. Okay. I guess the question is that in the video, should we talk about that?
Mmm.
You know, I mean, this is kind of getting a little meta, but at the same time, it's like there's a guy. Maybe what we could do is like make him anonymous. Be like, by the way,
Little
there's
touchy subject, yeah.
yeah, you know, it's
Um,
like there's a guy out there who's faster, but he specifically doesn't want to be named. It doesn't want to be, you know. But then it's like, okay, then I don't know. Do we talk about it or not?
right,
So
yeah. I feel like putting him, I don't know, man. That's tough. Yeah, that
yeah.
is tough.
Does he talk to
Uh,
anybody in the community? Is he Japanese? I'm gonna guess.
he's Japanese. Yeah.
Okay. Does he
Um,
talk to anybody? Like, could I get like Tonkatsu to translate for me?
I no, no. There's bad blood between Leftover and Tonkatsu.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like part of the reason why like he doesn't submit to Speedrun.com is like there's something about like between him and Tonkatsu. But once again, like I know nothing about this.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like if you put him in the video, then like naming him is fine, but like also mentioning that like he doesn't want to like be recognized for like his speedrun achievements would also like be the correct thing to do. But yeah, I'm not. I don't have strong feelings on this.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the feedback, and I will definitely try to figure out a good answer going forward. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Last chance. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think we should talk about?
Let
Like
me
this
think.
video wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about this.
Yeah, let me think about this for like a little bit.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, because like we did mention Bleak Skip, we did mention the GDQ stuff, we mentioned Leftover, Sui. Those are the two big names. Um, mentioned Morks. There was another Japanese runner by the name of Kazunoko
Mm-hmm.
who got record between Morks and Sui's records. Um, I don't really know much about him other than that, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
So
I watched a few runs of his, so I have a general idea who Morks is, but I have a couple ideas to follow up on to learn more about him. So,
yeah. Well, I wasn't talking about Mork, so I was talking about Kazunoko.
oh, Kazunoka, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So like, yeah, he's always been like kind of a question mark. Like we don't really know much about him. Like I don't know much about him. I just know that yeah, he got this 49-30 run, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I know about him, really. Like
Yeah.
after that is when the Westerners rose up.
Mm-hmm.
Donkey 3.
Yeah. What's interesting is that Kazunoko had world record times 4 years prior, but I think he ran on emulator.
Oh well. See, you're like
Yeah.
not now. You know, not now. You're dropping hot new knowledge on me.
There you go. So
Yeah. That's like when we were doing the DKC2 video, and you were like, "Yeah, Feast had the record back in like 2005," and I was like, "What?"
yeah, exactly. So there's always, I mean, there's like a spreadsheet. I don't know who even made this. So I don't know who to thank.
Hmm.
Maybe Krypton Berry?
I
I don't
actually
know.
don't know if Krypton did anything on DKC3.
Who knows? I'll have to figure
Yeah,
out because I don't know who made the
yeah.
spreadsheet, but
He
I
was the one who
appreciate
did
them.
the record progression for DKC2, but I don't know about DKC3.
Yeah, this is in the same format, so that's why I kind of thought it was, but
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
have no
Well,
idea if
maybe
it
it
really
was
is.
him then.
Who knows?
That is a good question though.
Indeed, indeed. Okay. Anybody else? Kazunoko? Anyone else that you?
So Kazunoko, Claude, Blonde, Zelna, DGs, Sui, myself. Let me check the leaderboards real quick.
I
I
guess I
guess
should also ask.
Nocturne was like a pretty prominent figure back in the day, but he never got a record. Like he was just shy of beating Marx's time for the longest time, and yeah, it unfortunately never happened. Well,
Hmm,
it didn't happen in time. Like I think now he has, yeah, according to the wiki, it has a 4833, but I think that was with Bleak Skip.
gotcha. Okay.
Oh boy, yeah.
Okay. I guess last but not least, who else do you think we should talk and get on this project? Do you think Claude would talk to me? Because I tried to reach out to for DKC2 and he wouldn't talk to me.
No,
So
no, yeah. Claude wouldn't talk to you. Claude,
okay.
yeah. Well, okay. So, do you have like a list right now of like people that like you know you want to reach out to, or am I the first one to drop suggestions?
You're the biggest one. No one else is. I haven't talked to anybody else yet. There was an old school runner who's still around. His name is Raikou Rider, but apparently he was really big into DKC3 back around 2013, 2014. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk to
Raiko was
him.
always a 1 or 3% advocate,
Hmm,
and if you want to talk to him about DKC3, then that's probably like what he'll talk about the most, like mostly about 103. Like I don't know, like how far is
hmm,
like any percent knowledge goes.
gotcha.
Uh, Aside from that, Supreme could be someone interesting to talk to. Morks, obviously. Also someone I'm sure Morks would talk to you.
Okay.
I feel like Supreme also would talk to you.
Okay.
Um, Scrolling right now.
Part of me wonders if I could talk to Sui, but
Well, yeah, Sui is Japanese as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. One of the things that we've been talking about that we never done is that we've never gotten a translator to actually have us talk to a Japanese person like directly. We've
Yeah.
always used like text or just to have someone else be our interpreter, but like
Mhm.
only through text, not like an actual voice call. So I'd be curious. Maybe we try that. But
Well, it's part of the reason why I'm learning Japanese myself.
oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Konnichiwa.
I got a lot more work to do on that, but yeah,
All right.
it
Okay.
would help.
All right.
Actually, like yeah, another person, like you're not gonna be able to get them either because they're also Japanese. But Blue Pen is the current world record holder for DKC3, and
Okay.
he's pretty cracked as well. Like yeah, he kind of took on Sui's torch in a sense,
Okay. All right.
and yeah, honestly, like I feel like the two biggest people that you could talk to right now, yeah, Marks and Supreme. Maybe Nocturne, but Nocturne is really not active in the speedrunning community anymore. Like I don't even know the last time I've seen him in a Twitch chat or like let alone stream.
Okay.
So you could try reach out to Nocturne as well. Nocturne could probably like, tell you a good deal. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up.
All right, sweet.
Alrighty, now I can go eat my pizza.
Yeah.
All right.
What's on that pizza?
I got a barbecue chicken pizza with a little bit of bacon and mushrooms on there.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it's still warm.
Yeah.
All right. Let me wrap this up.